Hello, and welcome to Heart and Hair with Naomi, and I am Naomi Harry. And if this is your first time here, well, welcome. And if this is not your first time here, you're a real OG. Thank you so much for coming back, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Today, we're going to be talking about something very, very interesting. So if you find this interesting, I'd like you to drop a like, share, and possibly a comment, and yeah, subscribe. So today's topic is, are men's libidos truly higher than women's? I find that to be an interesting question. Based on a conversation I had with a couple of friends, this question came up. So is it true that men's libidos are higher than women's, or could it be that women's libidos are suppressed by society and patriarchy? For clarity, libido means the sexual desire, that is sex drive in every individual. So it is just your desire for sex. That's the simple meaning of libido. And the patriarchy is a system of society. It's a social structure actually, and practice in which men govern, oppress, right, and exploit women. So it is a social construct of male dominance. As simple as that. And so today we are talking about the libidos of women, and we can't talk about that without actually emphasizing the reasons why it seems like women's libidos are suppressed. Cannot really truly say whose is higher if one party isn't fully expressive. With that said, the society, at least here in Africa, West Africa, particularly Nigeria, you hear things like, men need sex, one woman can't be enough for a man. A man cannot have one type of soup. That's their favorite. A man can't have one type of soup for the rest of his life. He has to taste a variety of soups, and that in reference to women being the food that men cannot have one for the rest of their life. So it seems like nobody actually wonders if women can actually have one type of soup for the rest of their life. It's not a saying. Nobody actually talks about that. So the general narrative is that men's sexual desires are insatiable. And so their promiscuity should be understood and excused. We are all human beings. I don't think, it's like they say, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So how is it that all this is said about one gender in full omission of the other? All these sayings have nothing with direct representation of the woman's sexual desire. The subject of women's libidos is rarely discussed, and in my opinion, the subject has much needed information both by women and men. So this subject is something that should be understood by both men and women. Men, because you are indeed sharing your sexual experiences with women, if that is your orientation, and for women, because we need to learn about ourselves, right? So while men need to be better at understanding women, many women need to take the time to understand themselves. So sex has been seen as something that men need and women do just because men need it, right? You just have to do it for your husband. It's dutiful, it's necessary for them, but then not exactly for you. So nothing really states that you need it, which is completely false in my opinion. Like the entire thing, trying to develop, right, this podcast, I found a lot of information and trying to understand really what is actually said about women's libidos, and it's not a lot, but there's just so much information about how to satisfy men. You go through your TikTok and you're seeing what men desire, how to make a man satisfied, how to keep him, what to do to make him never want for another woman. There's all this information out there to show you that as a woman that you should be doing something for the man that you're with sexually. And so where is that? It's not that like there's no information for men, there is, but it's not the type that says there is this thing that you must do as a man. If not, a woman will not be satisfied, and for that reason will leave, as opposed to how it is for men. So it's that no matter how unsatisfied you are as women, because there's several women who will tell you, I've been married for so many years, I have never had an orgasm. There's some that say, I'm completely ignored by my partner, he doesn't understand that I have some sexual needs. And so all these women going through all these things in their marriages, in their in their relationships do not actually leave for this reason. They simply sit there unsatisfied for 20 years, 30 years. In fact, they even get to the point where they are not intimate at all with their partners, and it's fine, But the narrative is that should a man not be satisfied, he will have the very good reason to leave. That will be the main reason why you lost your marriage, you've lost your man, you've lost your family, and you've lost your stability, because he's not satisfied. But women are taught to not expect satisfaction. Whatever you get is fine, right? Such is life. Such is life. So women's sexuality has always been suppressed. So the comparison yields no result. In Africa, we have a history of cultures that go as far as cutting of the clitoris. Like, just thinking about it is, yeah. So they used to go as far as cutting of the clitoris in the name of female genital mutilation. So, and now that was a practice that is so thankfully abolished at this point. But we suppress women's sexuality still. But this time it's psychologically, through purity culture, and mostly backed by religion and culture, actually. So whether we're not mutilating women, we have several ways in which we try to make sure that women are not fully expressive, because, what would the world be, right? We are supposed to uphold the Virgin Mary status. We're supposed to uphold purity, value, family structure. There's so much pressure on the perfection of women that you see the exact other gender enjoying freedoms. And so that's not to say the male gender doesn't have their own pressures and things that they must be perfect at. It's just, they're free to make certain mistakes. They're free to be promiscuous. They're forgiven if they cheat. They're forgiven for so many things that a woman can simply not get away with, whether in the modern Western society or in Africa especially. So it feels like the society hates you as a woman, because, like, why will a woman's pleasure not necessarily be emphasized or be seen as important? It's sad just thinking about it, actually. So teaching women that they must remain virgins to preserve their purity, so maybe, just maybe, they might be valuable enough for marriage and accepted by society, a value that is not adopted or taught to men. So just talking about it sees how unfair it is. Men are instead told to sow their royal oats and to be made to feel as if sex is degrading to women, and her values reduce once you've had her. A feeling that does not quite exist with women, because you hardly, as a woman, feel like a man has lost his value in your eyes because, you've seen him naked or you've been with him, as opposed to how men feel when, they've had a woman, and probably how they had her. Let's say you decided to bed a woman on the first date. How you see her is completely different from how you would see a woman who it took a while, or it took 90 days, think like a man made it look like, that woman has certainly more value to you, because the first one was quick to give the cookie away. And so this other one who held on and kept you waiting for a while must be more valuable. But I don't think women think like that. A woman who you have been with on the first date will be expecting you to call back, because really she doesn't see it as, she doesn't find you to be degrading. She doesn't think you have more value as a man if you chose to wait 90 days. So the concept is shocking. It's shocking, actually. So we have narratives that attach shame to sexual expression and pleasure, narratives that stigmatize women who openly are sexual. For example, dancers on social media, right? They wear revealing clothes, women that will be highly desired by men. Most women will covet those dance skills, that talent and that sexiness that the woman is expressing online. Those skills that she's showing and how free she truly is. You watch this movie Sex and the City. There's a reason why Samantha was so popular, because apart from the fact that men desire to be with such an expressive woman, women would wish they could be that free to express themselves. But still, such a character and such a person does not receive a lot of love. You know, these dancers and these women who are so expressive and, you know, openly sexual on social media, they have a lot of followers, right? They are very, very desired and liked by men. But you check their comment section, the dislike, the criticism, the hate that they receive from their own followers, the hate that they receive from people who actually subscribe to the things that they do is shocking in general, because you see that this video has millions of views. It means that most of the people who have watched this video have watched it multiple times still. But then those same people who have taken their time and their data that are glued to this same content will be the ones who go and criticize it. But you've enjoyed it. It's just that society has chosen for us to dislike these people, even if we enjoy what they do. And the woman looking at that extreme hate will decide to be in a shell. Because should I actually attempt this level of freedom to the public, oh God, I am going to be hated. It's not convenient. It's not a beautiful place to be. So definitely, if I were in a position where I was thinking, oh, you know, today maybe I should feel a little freer and be more expressive about myself and be more expressive about my desires. When you go and see such things on social media, you are discouraged. So there's a mental conditioning that comes with seeing what women are put through when they are indeed fully expressive about their sexuality. You see how men talk about them, you see how men treat them, you see that they're objects, right? Objects to satisfy the man's sexual desires, and he actually does not respect them. And so it takes a very particular and a very genuine and a very intelligent and forward-thinking man to come out of this mentality. Now, it's not even something that I blame the people in society for. It is our conditioning, it is our indoctrination, our training, you know, our moral structure, the things that we were taught. Those things are in us. As a woman, it's not, you can't blame somebody else for you not being fully expressive about your sexuality, but it just is like that, because the things around you show you, the people around you tell you, and just like that, you find yourself in that kind of situation. And people clearly express that a woman's value reduces when she has sex, and that a woman should not have a body count. Now that on its own is a full TikTok argument. The more men she sleeps with, the less likely she is to be accepted by a responsible man. So a woman who wants or needs a responsible man in her life should understand that for any chance, should her body count exceed 3 or 5, or should even exceed the 0, she shouldn't be expecting to marry the most responsible and respectful man in her life, because you know what, you've been around the block, right? Like they say, this one is for the streets. But then, what is said about these men whose body counts, we don't even make it a subject to ask truly what is your body count as a man. Does it truly matter? So analyzing men's body count is completely non-existent, because the more numbers that a man ramps up, the more the guys and the people in society see him as masculine. You know, so it's not something that man is making conscious effort to hide. But women are conditioned to make sure, you'll be advised online and say, okay, one thing you should never do, you know, or never tell a man who you're interested in is how many men you have actually been with. But then you see men who freely tell you, you know, when I was in school, when I was in uni, when I was in college, I have been with so many women. You know, I spent my time trying to ramp up numbers. I've been with women of this race and that race. You know, I'm a guy like that. You know, I'm a G like that. I've been able to catch these babes. It's a thing of pride for men. And then as a woman, you're advised not to say, because men are not taught how to handle these numbers. Because for real, if you actually open up and tell a guy, okay, so these are the amounts of men I've been with, which is a number that is not up to 10% of his, right? It's not up to, it's still a small number, but he's thought to be uncomfortable by it still. Like, you know, oh my God, you've been with 10 guys, and you're looking at him like, 10 is a small number. Like 10 is a small number, right? Your number is possibly 40, but still the concentration would be, who are these 10 men? How and when? How old are you that you could have been with all these men? So even if for heaven's sake you have this conversation and truly this guy is able to hold it in, right, and not act like anything is wrong, and he just chests it and says, oh, okay. The fact is, you notice a little bit of change in his attitude. You notice something about it. You just know somehow this information has affected this guy. You hear it in some of the jokes and some of the comments. You just hear it in somehow about how he treats you, right? It's just be a little more different. But then for no reason, as a woman, would you be treating a guy different? Maybe if you hear a number above 100, right? You'd be like, this guy's an ashawo guy. But really, would it make you like him less? No. Will it make you judge him? No. Will it make you think that he will probably give you an STD? Maybe yes, but would that stop you from being with him? No. And so the fact is that it is completely different for both genders. So if men aren't judged by their body counts and it doesn't define who they are or tell you the most about their personality, why does a woman's body count have to be the thing that makes you place judgment on her personality and her character, right? So men now require sex from every romantic interest. So you're sleeping with women who you're with in relationships, right? So you're sleeping with the women in the society, including the decent women who you desire to be with, because of course, as a man, I like my woman to be right. I like my woman to be decent. I want her to cook. I want her to, be God-fearing and be down to earth, right? So you are actually sleeping with the decent women, and then should you find a virgin, you would want to be the one that she chooses, and you would want to be the one that takes that virginity off her, right? Because you want to be the one that is worth that. And for any reason should you choose, because I have a couple of friends who are actually indeed virgins, you find that they'll agree to be with a man. The man is like, oh, you're a virgin, oh, that's beautiful, right? Don't worry, I'm not going to pressure you. And he agrees to go into a relationship with said virgin, and then a few months down the line he's still asking, aren't you ready? Don't you think it's time? But then that was not the agreement at the beginning of the relationship. So most times they'd agree to go into the relationship hoping that somewhere along the line you'd be comfortable enough to say, and that's the man who has some decency. You'll be hoping enough to say that you're comfortable right now and you're ready. So actually, you want to sleep with everybody. And then still, when you're choosing to be with a woman, you want to hope that she hasn't slept with a lot of people. But then you're out in society sleeping with everybody. Make it make sense, really. Make it make sense. Men will enjoy and occasionally crave a sexually aware woman, a sexually open and expressive woman, but they don't accord her a lot of respect because they're not taught to. Women are told to accept the fact that men are promiscuous, and that, while they cheat and, are promiscuous and they move around, they still have the ability to love and respect their partners. Because, right, men do not associate a lot of emotions with sex. They don't associate it, so it's not necessarily disrespectful when they do it, because they still indeed love you and they still will uphold all responsibilities to you as their woman while cheating. Cheaters put their partner's health and emotional well-being at risk for their personal enjoyment, right? So there's no consideration for the well-being of your partner or how it would affect them because they have chosen to enjoy a few moments of satisfaction with somebody else. That is, in general, what I think it is. So it doesn't necessarily have anything, that choice of cheating doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your partner, but in fact, it will affect that relationship you have with the person and the person's emotional well-being, as well as the fact that you might catch an STD and bring it right back home. So men see cheating as the disrespect that it is. They will not tolerate it from a woman. A man who will, in fact, tolerate cheating is a man who has truly loved and has, in some way, unlearned his misogyny. Will say, okay, I love her, so I'll forgive, right? And still, it will take him a journey of letting go. But women are direct, like you're taught from a young age that should you be able to marry a man who doesn't cheat on you, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. It's not something that is available to women everywhere, and so it's not easy to find. It's not something that you should teach yourself that you're looking for. They tell you, should a woman leave because it rains everywhere, right? You can't leave your home because it's raining everywhere, and so you can't leave a man because he's cheating, because how are you to know that the next man you're going to be with will not do the same thing to you? Men will feel disrespected if you cheat on them, and they will walk away. You hear a man clearly saying, even as promiscuous as I am, and even as I move around having every woman that I want while married, if my wife should do that, I won't forgive it. Clearly, like, I know the things that you do, and I see you, but then you're choosing, you're saying it clearly. And this is the thing, this is not even about one person. This is the thing said by men, because it's not even about them choosing to be partial to their own irresponsibility. It is just how they think, right? It's going to be difficult for me to forgive a woman who cheats on me, even if I do it to her. Right, so it's not something that they're conditioned to be able to endure. But women are taught, even if it hurts, you have to endure. You have to. Some of these things happen, right? Men are like that. You're taught that men are like that, and then with all these narratives and societal norms in place, the sexuality of women is still very much highly suppressed, while men explore and expand theirs. While men desperately need to unlearn their misogyny, women must stop suppressing their own desires into an acceptable image. You're trying to make sure that you're the kind of woman that your parents would want you to be, and so you push yourself into an image and decide, what, maybe my sexual desires do not really fully need to be expressed. Whatever he gives me is what I'll take. It's wrong. It's you find that in a relationship, one person's libido is most times higher than the other, because it's just natural that two people will not have the same sexual desires at every point in time, because there's so many things that affect it. So, but there's guilt and shame, right, that keeps one person in a relationship from expressing their own sexual desires. So somehow, society affects how we think is acceptable to be sexually. So you try to express that you want it, but not too much, so that it doesn't scare away your partner, right? So it's just like James Bond over the years. In the beginning, you see how he's freely flirting and being with women, and then women who clearly want to be with him too cannot actually express that they do, and somehow he has to cajole them into being intimate with him, even when you can see that she wants it, right? And then you find that the women are okay and fine. You see two women who have been with Bond that are aware that both of them have been with Bond in the same movie, standing side by side, right next to him, understanding that they're sharing him, and it's not a problem, because it's fine, because at the time, that's actually how society was. You just sit there and, it's fine. It's not like you're going to have him share you with another man, but you're sharing him, and that's okay, right? It's uncomfortable, but it's okay, And so, but as we go through the years, you see that the Bond movies are changing. Right now, you don't see him forcing himself on any woman who, finally agrees to be with him, right? Because women are evolving. It's not as bad as it used to be. So I hope that this evolution of women and their sexuality goes beyond what it is now, because that expressiveness needs to be part of us as women. We need to be able to say, what, right, I don't think what you did to me right now is what I truly desired for you to have done, and I think it can be better. Be able to come out and tell your partner, what, I've not been satisfied this whole time, and I think you're being a little selfish, and actually say what you desire out of your partner. And men, listen. Sometimes it feels like your partner is unteachable and he will ignore you when you ask for your needs to be met. And so you're forced not to say it. So there are a lot of men who simply do not have high libidos. There are a lot of men who sex drive for them is just exaggerated as society would like it to be. But really, you know within yourself that this is not how you're feeling. You know that you're not out there desiring to be with every single person. You think about it, but you know that you don't have the physical ability to do it. But society now makes it seem like, you know, as a man, you know, na man you be, you kind of have to, you know, explore, so your royal oats, you know, this lady is right next to you. So why not, right? There are a lot of men who can be without sex for days, months, weeks, years. They can't just be without it. And right there in front of them, there's a perfect environment, there's a perfect aura, perfect opportunity to indulge, but they simply won't. They're just not interested because they don't feel like it. But society makes those men feel abnormal. You don't hear a guy coming to say, you know, no, right? Because society has made it look like, as a guy, every opportunity for intimacy that you find, you take. Every opportunity for intimacy that you find, you have to, you know, grab onto it and grab hold to it. So a guy who actually doesn't have a high libido will not be comfortable enough to say, because, you know what, he can't express that to his friends, because like, they're like, okay, what kind of guy? So you mean, right, there was a naked lady sleeping right next to you and you didn't do anything with her? And that girl, she probably wanted you and you didn't do anything with her. Aren't you weird? And so, yes, while women's libidos are suppressed, there's an angle of male expressiveness that is not fully explored, because there is a narrative that covers and overshadows how men can truly express themselves, really. And then you go over time, you get older, and women's libidos, through menopause and through so many postpartum depression and through so many things, fluctuates and sometimes intensifies as they get older. It is not the same for men, because it's a completely different thing. So a lot of people, while they get older, that stamina for intimacy reduces. But then for women, yes, you come in and out of the mood within the month, but does that stamina really reduce over the years? So it's not the same thing. So a lot of times in a lot of relationships, you find that a woman's libido is many times higher than the guy. You see her, you know, wanting for more, and he's like, you know, just give me a breather. Let me just rest, you know. And that is a guy who actually does not have a low sex drive, but he's not fully able to express that, you know, I can't meet the needs of the woman that I'm with. And so as a woman, you're even taught to not rub it in. If he can't meet your needs, you just take what he has to give you, and then you're off. You're off doing your thing. That is why at this point, toys are selling. Toys are selling because a lot of women need that extra time for themselves. Women have collections now because it's no longer such a taboo to own one. You know, it's like it should be part of the things that you own, right? Just in your bedside drawer right there, right? You feel a little uncomfortable, it's happened, and you don't feel like you got all that you desired, and you just go open and take. And it's fine right now. It didn't used to be like that. Imagine how our parents were. Imagine how they were. And then they had setups where men would go off to war for years, and that woman would just be sitting home. And for no reason should you be found with other people, because it'll be a taboo. You'll be an outcast in society for attempting that. But should it have been that women went to war and women went to do all these jobs for years? It would be okay. It's just like you see a guy here living free in Nigeria, where most of the people here are abroad, right? Most of the people have sent their families abroad, and you see a man working from Nigeria, sending money home to his family, and you see him here, he has an apartment, he's living like a bachelor. And then people say, okay, isn't he married, right? Why is he here? And they're like, he's married now, but his family is not here. What do you expect of him? But then the same woman in another society with her family, whose husband is far away from her, will not be excused for attempting to satisfy herself with other people. When you are intimate with someone, you need to understand what their sexual needs are. So apart from the fact that there are other factors that will reduce or increase what it is, it's good for you to be sensitive to what your partner's sexual needs are, because in fact, it will definitely never be the same as yours. And that is why consent comes into the argument, because you need to fully understand what the environment is like. You need to understand before you indulge whether your partner is in or not. You need to understand, okay, my woman is the kind who needs it every night, possibly multiple times. And so when you have that understanding, you know that you're going to do your best to satisfy her. right? The same way a woman would try to understand what her husband's sexual desires are, and if you're a good husband to her, no matter how tired she is, she probably will come to bed as long as she feels good and as long as she feels like you're deserving of it. And so sexual needs are a discussion that should be had between couples. It's an intimate discussion that must be understood and must be expressed between you and whoever you're intimate with, so that both of you understand what you're doing and so that both of you understand how best to satisfy one another. Because whether you like it or not, libidos are not as society paints them to be. A woman's libido can be as high as possible and a man's libido can actually be low, as opposed to how society makes it look, as opposed to how society makes you feel like it should be. So that expectation that you have of your partner should not actually be what you expect of your partner. So that is why you're learning this person for yourself. That's why you're learning to understand this person for yourself. So you ask, you find out, and you see how well both of you work together as a couple. You see what the chemistry is like. So as we hope for the chemistry in our relationship, you cannot neglect the feeling, the fact that sometimes the sex is dutiful, and that's okay. You can, as you hope to, have an equal libido as your partner, you have to understand that there are some times where you're going to be with your partner just because you know that they need it, because you know that this is what they desire at this point in time. While you hit a climax and you orgasm, you know that you can't lay in bed because, well, she's not satisfied or he is not satisfied. And so that's what a relationship is about. It's about compromise. So we need to normalize understanding the difference in sexual desires. In most cases, the drive is different and there are many factors that affect it. The fact is that the factors that will affect your desire to meet those needs of your partner will also vary. And so while you're trying your very best to exclude yourself from societal norms, it is important for you to understand that, there are differences every now and again. And so there are differences on how you as a person would desire intimacy based on how your body is, based on how you feel, based on whether or not you're hungry. There's so many things that affect it for you as a person. And so you have to understand that, maybe it is different for your partner, and then see how well you can make it work, see how well you can enjoy yourself. What we're here to learn is how best to enjoy our relationships and make it better. And so with that, this is where the episode comes to an end. And I had a good time talking about this. It was interesting. It was, how would I put it, controversial. And so I'd like to hear what you think. Do you actually think that women's libidos are as high or higher than men's libidos, or you still maintain that men's libidos are truly higher than women's? I'd like to know what you think, and down in the comment section you can check my social media. And if you enjoyed this and if you watched it for this long, I hope that you really liked it. So give this a like, share, and subscribe. And so yeah, it's Heart and Her with Naomi yet again, and I am Naomi Harry. Stay tuned for the next episode.